The Warriors have fallen below 500 once again after an embarrassing loss to the Sacramento Kings, and that has prompted an NBA insider to reveal some shocking Warriors trade rumors surrounding these two guys and what the future of this franchise looks like. We'll dive into all of that today and more. But first, I got to ask you guys, get real in the comment section for me. Should the Golden State Warriors blow this whole thing up and rebuild and go in a new direction and start stockpiling assets for the future? Type Y for yes, type N for no. What's going on, Dub Nation? You're watching Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Tyler Smith, and on today's show, I know, maybe you guys aren't ready for this conversation yet, but we have to talk about the possibility of moving on from Stephen Curry and Draymond Green. With the state of the Golden State Warriors right now, it's not looking good for 30-23 to win another championship during their run in the Bay Area. So we're going to discuss an article that was dropped by NBA insider Kevin O'Connor recently about the prospect of Golden State blowing it up and moving on from the two pillars of their franchise for the past decade. And the way that O'Connor rationalized the idea of trading Steph and Draymond, and this is talking about Golden State making this move, not, Steph and Draymond, deciding that they want to move on from Golden State. He talks about Steph being 37 and Draymond turning 35, and how old these guys are and the very minimal opportunities that they have left to win a championship in general. I mean, LeBron he's 40 right now, and he's not in the position that he was physically 5-6 years ago. He's still a great talent, but he's not at the peak of his powers. Steph this season has shown decline and morality, right? Like, his numbers have been the worst since he wasn't even making the playoffs with the Golden State Warriors over 10 years ago. And you could see physically, he's just not as quick anymore. When defenses are throwing the kitchen sink at him, it's tough for him to make one-on-one moves in the isolation game. And he just hasn't been as productive offensively as he's been accustomed to, and as we've been accustomed to over the past couple of years. And with Draymond Green being out right now with the calf strain, and Steph getting banged up with the ankle and the knee and whatever extremities he's having trouble with, because he has to shoulder so much weight for this team, both players are missing time, and they're not going to be counted on to be playing 82-game stretches anymore. And, they're not going to be counted on to be playing 35-plus minutes per night at this point in their careers. It's just not realistic anymore, and if you did ask that of them, they probably would drop off more in the production category. And, with Golden State kind of hanging on to these two guys right now, what's the use, right? Like, they've had zero real playoff success since 2022 when they won the NBA championship, and you could have probably, akin that to lightning in a bottle and kind of just getting lucky for Golden State. They were in the right place at the right time winning that championship. So with zero real success to be had since then, and honestly, you could argue a very, very steep drop-off, one of the biggest drop-offs from a recent NBA champion in the NBA, you could argue that Golden State should look at trading Stephen Curry and Draymond Green and getting the most possible return back for them as soon as possible. Kevin O'Connor writes this. He said, there is a responsibility in keeping the franchise in a good space and a good spot when it comes to how we leave this thing when we're done. Remember those words from Stephen Curry about how he talked with Draymond and talked with Steve Kerr about preserving the future of this team. He said, this public messaging prompted me to write an article last week with the headline, should Stephen Curry move on from the Warriors? I mean, that seems crazy, right? That Steph would want to move on. I mean, he's always talked about Warrior for life, but how about we don't leave this up to Stephen Curry and Draymond Green and Steve Kerr? How about we leave this to the front office that needs to look at the long-term plans of their job? O'Connor continues saying, but the flip side of this conversation is, should the Warriors move on from Steph and Draymond? What happens if a team with a war chest of draft picks makes an offer? If team owner Joe Lacob doesn't at least listen, he's doing this franchise and its future a massive disservice, even if the fans rip him for even thinking about moving on. And Kevin O'Connor, he's speaking facts, right? Like, if a team called you up and said, what's the price on Steph and Draymond? Joe Lacob and Mike Dunleavy should not just hang up the phone immediately. They should at least listen to what that team and what that front office has to say and has to offer. Because Kevin O'Connor is right. Like, what did he say? That if the fans rip him, the Golden State front office should not care about fan vitriol when talking about the future success of their franchise, because they're already talking about not making a big trade this year and not going all in for Steph and Draymond. So if you're not going to go all in, then what are we even doing here? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But, before you guys click off the video, this does not have to happen right now. This does not have to happen trade Stephen Curry and Draymond Green away and accumulate all these assets this second. You can move on, maybe around the time of the 2025 NBA draft. Because if you can think back to right before this Golden State Warriors dynasty began, Danny Ainge and the Boston Celtics made a controversial move that frankly pissed off the fan base. Pissed off a guy like Bill Simmons on the ESPN draft ticker that night. He was not happy that Danny Ainge decided to send away franchise pillars Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and Jason Terry, I guess, as well, to the Brooklyn Nets for a plethora of draft picks. But what did those become? They become Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, a workaround between trading those draft picks later down the line that became Derek White. The Boston Celtics are still reaping the rewards of a trade that happened over 12 years ago, and the Golden State Warriors could be in a position down the line where they're talking about new franchise pillars. They're talking about new multi-time MVPs wearing blue and gold. In my opinion, trading Stephen Curry is actually the right move that you want to make if you are preserving the future. If we're preserving the future for Golden State, what's that going to get them right now? If you keep Stephen Curry and Draymond Green around, it's going to get you a bunch of 14th, 13th, 12th, 10th, and as you get closer and closer to them retiring, the picks are going to get better, but you're not going to be accumulating the top level talent that is at the top of the draft. You're not going to be getting the blue chip prospects that everybody's talking about. You're not in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes this year, even though you're under 500 right now. You're not going to be in the opportunity or the running to pick a guy like Ace Bailey who could be that long-term scorer and the alpha in Golden State for years to come. So in my opinion, trading Steph is the right move if you really want to go all in on the future and think about long-term success with the Golden State Warriors. Get the amount of draft pick, the number of draft picks you can now. They would go for a lot, trust me. And you know what? If you include Draymond, you can get a couple more in there as well. Because if you trade Stephen Curry, trading Draymond Green is the next logical move, or hopefully, maybe we'll talk about it later, it could come along with a Stephen Curry trade. It has to happen, though, if you trade Steph, right? Like, a team out there will want Draymond Green, and you might not go for the price tag that Steph's going to go for at this point, but he's a veteran leader. He's a championship DNA type of guy who's going to be an excellent defender day in and day out, and you know what? Golden State could accumulate more assets for him. He's not going to be, you don't want to waste the last couple of years of his career rotting away in Golden State, because at the end of the day, Draymond Green and Stephen Curry winning another title with the Golden State Warriors, I know, everybody sit down for this. It's unlikely. I don't know what to tell you. If you think that Draymond Green and Stephen Curry are going to have as good of a chance as anybody else to win an NBA championship over the next 3 years with the way that this Golden State Warriors roster looks right now, then I have some cookies and milk to get for you to give to the fat man coming down the chimney on December 25th. Because what you could get for Stephen Curry and Draymond Green right now is actually the maximum that you'd be able to get if you trade them at any point. But with them still having 2 more years left on their contracts after this season, and they're not exactly the most tradable numbers. Draymond's 25 to 27 million kind of help that, but you're going to get the most you can for Draymond Green and Stephen Curry right now. With them having 2 more years on their deals, you're going to get the biggest number of draft picks that a team would be willing to offer you, as opposed to you trading them away with 1 year left on their deal. Trading Stephen Curry and Draymond Green, there is a definite possibility that it happens. I know Steph, Warrior for life, Draymond the same way, but if the front office and Steph and Draymond and Steve Kerr really want to talk about preserving the future, then maybe they should think about moving on from this team as a whole. And I know they've had a ton of success, and this is probably hurting for you guys to hear, but what year did you start watching the Warriors? Were you watching Steph and Draymond when they got drafted for your Golden State Warriors? Let me know down in the comment section. Give me a year that you started watching the Dubs and started chanting GSW. Up next, we're going to go through a couple Steph and Draymond trade ideas via Kevin O'Connor. He dropped that big article, so listen, if you're mad about it, get mad at him. Don't get mad at me. We're going to go through a couple trade ideas for Steph and Draymond on the back half of today's show. But first, I want to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform with over 10 million active members, including yours truly. I love Prize Picks because it's so easy to win real money in real time watching your favorite sports. And you guys can get hooked up with an awesome deal from us at Chat Sports when you sign up using our promo code CLNS and get $50 for free instantly when you place your first $5 entry. You might be asking me, how do you place an entry? It's super simple. All you guys got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 player stat projections and just pick more or less. I'll give you guys an example for the big football games coming up this Sunday. The Prize Picks is always trying to hook you up with incredible free squares and deals and discounted offers. Well, they gave one for you this weekend. Jaden Daniels, more than half a passing yard. Sign me up for that. And then Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, less than pass attempts. I think it's going to be a field position game. Not enough plays for these two guys to go more on their pass attempts. So you can tail my picks. You can fade my picks. Just make sure you go and do it at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use that promo code CLNS for $50 instantly when you place your first $5 entry. You don't even need to win to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. All that information is clickable down in the comments and description of today's video. All right. I know you guys are not ready to see this, and I'm sure you if it happened tomorrow, you guys would be rioting in the streets of San Francisco. But we're going to go through a couple Steph Curry and Draymond Green trade ideas via Kevin O'Connor. So again, I'm going to say it again. Don't get mad at me. Get mad at KOC. Here's the first one coming in, and we're going to start off with Draymond-only trades. We're going to talk about Draymond-only trades and then Steph-only trades, and then maybe we got a bonus one at the end. First trade idea from KOC. He's got Clint Capella coming to Golden State for a Draymond Green, and then a 2025 first-round pick. Two of them coming from the Los Angeles Lakers and the Sacramento Kings. The Kings kind of muddling around that play-in spot. The Lakers in that play-in spot as well. You could imagine those picks maybe landing between 16 to 20. And you know what? Those could be very valuable picks. We've seen some great talent drafted in those selections over the past couple of seasons, and the Hawks would get Draymond Green in this deal. And, I'm trying to rationalize why every other team would want to do this deal because, we're already at the point of Golden State shipping off Draymond Green and Stephen Curry. Now, why Atlanta would want to do it is because, they needed some championship DNA on that roster. And as long as they have Trae Young on the team, and, they're building around Jalen Johnson as well, I think Draymond Green would be a great mentor to him. And, you get the first overall pick in the draft this year as somebody who they thought was a little bit NBA ready. As long as you have Trae Young, and as long as you have, they made the move for Dyson Daniels. He's been a great piece as well. They're kind of in win now mode. They're definitely not in a tank mode anymore. So as long as you have Trae Young putting up the numbers that he does, and they're winning enough games that they do, Draymond Green would be a good veteran addition to kind of rein those guys in and make a playoff push in the Eastern Conference. But what about if we keep Draymond in the West? Draymond Green to the Houston Rockets, another up-and-coming young team that is ready to win now. The Rockets would send Cam Whitmore, who's kind of the highlight of this trade as far as young playable assets now, Steven Adams, Jeff Green for salary purposes, and then a 2027 Phoenix first, which I think is the real chip in this trade, and then 2 second-round picks as well. That Phoenix first in 2027, you could see Kevin Durant gone. You could see maybe a Bradley Beal or potentially Jimmy Butler gone. And the Rockets would need to do this because they're at the point now where they have too many guys. They got, their third overall pick, Reed Shepherd, playing in the G League. They need to trim their rotation and add a championship-level piece to their roster right now. And that would probably take them over the edge in certain matchups between some of the West's elite right now. They're the number 2 overall seed in the Western Conference, and adding a player like Draymond Green would probably get them closer to making an NBA Finals and winning the West. Now let's go over to Steph. I know you guys are going to hate these trades way more. I already know it. But we're going to send Steph to the Eastern Conference, so we don't have to worry about him more than twice a year anymore. The Warriors would receive from the Magic Anthony Black, recent top 10 pick. Jonathan Isaac, who has gotten healthy, and he's been very serviceable for Orlando recently. Cole Anthony, score in bunches type of small guard who can fill it up. 4 first-round picks. 4 unprotected first-round picks. And 2 first-round pick swaps. I mean, if you're trading Steph, it's for the picks at the end of the day. But the Magic deal that was out there were a couple of deals, right? I believe there were 4 for Steph and 5 for Draymond total. And I decided to pick the 2 that I thought were the most fruitful for Golden State. And why the Magic would do this is you would give yourself the best big 3 in the NBA currently. If you had Stephen Curry, Paolo Banchero, and Franz Wagner running the show for the Magic, I don't think there would be a contender in the Eastern Conference that comes close to the level of talent that top 3 would have. But what about sending Steph to the Western Conference? Somebody that we used to beat up on in the West playoffs all the time, the Houston Rockets, we're kind of rewarding them for the past and how they helped us get to the finals time and time again. Steph goes to the Rockets this time for Fred VanVleet, getting that number 3 overall pick, Reed Shepherd, who many people have, not called a mini Curry, no, definitely not Curry, but he's shown shades in his play style of playing like Steph and being able to shoot the pill from deep. 3 first-round picks, 2 first-round pick swaps. So you're kind of getting the same deal as you gave to Orlando for first, but they didn't give you as recent enough of a first-round pick. Reed Shepard's the third overall pick in the 2024 NBA draft. So that's going to be a deal that kind of nets you 4 unprotected firsts and 2 pick swaps. But remember, I sent Draymond to the Houston Rockets, and I sent Steph to the Houston Rockets. What if we send them both to the Houston Rockets in a blockbuster idea from KOC? Reed Shepard, Cam Whitmore, Fred VanVleet, Steven Adams, Jason Tate. Those are all expiring contracts. So Golden State doesn't have to worry about those biggish deals later on. 4 unprotected first-round picks, 3 swaps. And then the Rockets would receive Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Buddy Hield, and Lindy Waters III. I actually like Lindy. Would love to keep him, but if we're going to be splitting hairs here, I'm fine shipping Lindy off to Houston. Golden State gets a plethora of draft assets here, man. And if we're just going to rattle them off, because I want to talk about, not every draft pick is worth the same amount. And if you're giving Stephen Curry and Draymond Green to the Houston Rockets, their unprotected firsts are not going to be worth as much as maybe some other teams. So the draft pick details that Golden State would get in this deal. Unprotected firsts include a 2027 Phoenix pick, which I love. I really, really want that pick. 2 in 2029, the highest or most favorable, closer to 1, of Dallas, Houston, and Phoenix, and a 2031 Houston Rockets pick. So maybe, Steph, Draymond, they're retired by that point, and that pick looks a little bit better than it would in maybe 27 through 30. And then the first-round pick swaps, where Golden State would have the opportunity to move up in the draft and trade places with these selections. 2025 with Phoenix, maybe could be good. I don't know. They're kind of back and forth in the standings right now. The 2027 via the most favorable of Brooklyn or Houston. So maybe a good opportunity there. I'm sure the Nets will still be pretty bad. And then the 2028 Houston Rockets draft selection. So there's opportunities here for Golden State to kind of become the Oklahoma City Thunder and having that big plethora of picks. So remember we talked about Danny Ainge trading away Kevin Garnett, Pierce, Jason Terry, all those cats to Brooklyn for all the picks. Well, Sam Presti and the Oklahoma City Thunder did it recently as well, and Golden State could find themselves in that position if they were to ship off Steph and Draymond. So this blockbuster deal is crazy. I know. Would you make it? I know. It is crazy. It probably will never happen, but let's fantasize for a little bit here. Would you make this trade if it was presented to you right now? Type A for accept, type D for decline. I want to know what Dub Nation has to say. I'm accepting, but I'm holding my nose while I do it because the Reed Shepard thing, is he going to pan out? I mean, he's playing in the G League right now, and you want with making these trades to at least accumulate one play now piece. You want Cam Whitmore to be good. You really need Reed Shepard to be good in this deal, though, if you are going to make it. The 2027 Phoenix first is huge, and the 2031 Houston first is potentially huge for Golden State. So if this deal were to come across the table, I'm not saying that they need to make it now. I'm not saying that they need to make it tomorrow. I'm not even saying that they need to make it before this draft. But I am saying that Joe Lacob, Mike Dunleavy, you might have to pick up the phone and at least talk about it. And we could talk about it more on Twitter, on social media. Hit me up at Smitty@CS, trying to get some more followers over there and posting daily Warriors news, live tweeting games, and all that good stuff. So want to build a bigger community on social media and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We're over 71,000 strong here at Warriors Today. So if you're a diehard Golden State Warriors fan, you're going to love what we got going on here at the channel. So hit that sub button. We'll see you in the next one. Let's go Dubs.